Hey, this is Sri here. Now, if you've stumbled on this video, the chances are that you're going to be going through this one belief that so many women hold on to when it comes to their marriage. And that's the belief that you're not enough, and you're not smart enough, you're not beautiful enough, and you're not enough to be able to work on the marriage as it stands right now. Now, if you are feeling like this, you're not alone. And for that reason, I've shot this video so I can explain to you the reasons why this is such an important belief that needs to be shifted and what you actually need to do to create that shift so that you can actually begin to save your marriage from the brink of divorce. Now, the chances are if you are holding on to this belief, I know that it can feel so isolating and so alone. I want you to know that you really aren't alone, and that not only are there so many women out there who are going through similar problems, but also that I'm here to help you as well in the best way that I can. So if it's something that you're feeling like you're needing some support and some guidance on, then all you need to do is just in the description section below, there's a link to choose a time to book a call with me. And the idea behind the call is just to understand where you are now, where you want to get to, and just how we can bridge that gap so we can create the biggest shifts in both your life and your marriage as well. And when we do that, you're going to experience a level of joy and happiness that you've never experienced before. And make sure you hit the subscribe button below so every week you get access to my latest videos, teaching you specifically about how to improve your marriage and how to become the best version of yourself. Now, this belief of not feeling like you're good enough can have a huge impact in the quality of your marriage. Now, the way it impacts you is two things. The first is that what happens is what we feel on the inside is often reflected on the outside. So if I always hold on this belief that I don't feel like I'm good enough and I'm not worthy of love and attention and worthy of success and all of that sort of stuff, if I'm holding on to that, then what's going to happen is energetically people are going to pick up on that, but also it's going to my life is going to reflect what I feel on the inside. I really believe in that strongly, and I've seen absolute accuracy of that point, and not only in my life but in the lives of so many of my clients as well, where they often tell me that all of the circumstances that they're experiencing are pretty much in alignment with what they feel about themselves. So that's the first reason how it can impact someone's life and someone's marriage so dramatically. And the second reason is that if you're holding on to this belief that you're not good enough or you're not worthy of love, what's going to happen is that's going to impact the way in which you show up in your marriage. It's going to prevent you from setting the right boundaries. It's going to prevent you from speaking your truth because you don't feel like your opinion actually counts. It's going to prevent you from taking the actions that you need to in order to connect with your partner and so forth, because there's a part of you that questions whether you're actually good enough and that you're worthy of having that person. It's going to sometimes force you to become really, really needy because you're needing that person's attention so much rather than actually feeling like you're enough just as you are. And so there's a whole range of behaviors that occur in relationships and marriages that prevent someone from actually being able to create the extraordinary marriage that they deserve because they hold on to this belief. Now, because we've identified how important and how this belief actually impacts one's life, the question then becomes, how do we actually go about shifting that? Because I can tell you right now, if there's one thing that you need to work on in order to create that shift in your marriage, this is it. Forget communication, forget setting boundaries, forget trying to get to the depths of male psychology. Because whilst those things are absolutely important, if you don't have the right foundations, if you're not actually working at that level, then all of that other stuff that you're going to work on, you're never going to be able to take the actions that you really need to in order to create the shifts. So then the question becomes, how do we actually go about creating those shifts? Now, I'm sure a lot of you would have heard of different tactics like fake it till you make it, or really create some different shifts in terms of your mind and your thoughts. Some of you may have tried different techniques like EMDR or cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, my issue with a lot of these techniques is that they don't actually really get to the very core of the problem. They're either forcing you to replay traumatic events, which only creates more and more pain, or what it does is it uses just the mind. Now, the problem with them, if we just use the mind only, all we end up doing is we end up suppressing a lot of our pain. I know people talk a lot about, trying to become bulletproof in terms of your mind and your emotions, but to just try and shift your thoughts and anticipate those things that may come at some point, that often is just setting you up for failure, because we're not really actually creating the deeper shifts from within. What we really need to be doing is getting to that level of where we feel inadequate emotionally. So it's all about adapting and handling it at the emotional level. Now the question is, how do we go about actually doing that? So there's a few things that you want to start off doing to get to that level. The first thing is that when you actually start experiencing some of your emotions, give yourself that ability to just feel them. And I don't mean from a thinking perspective. Often I talk to people and they say to me, oh, the way I'm feeling is that I'm really, really annoyed that he did this to me and how he did that to me. And when he said this, and this really annoyed me, and it really pissed me off when he said that. That's just thinking about your emotions. What you really want to be doing is saying, okay, where am I actually feeling these emotions in my body? And actually experiencing them to the fullest. Now, there's many levels to this and many layers to it. But as a simple tool, you want to start off and do that. Okay, that's the first thing. Now, part of you might be sitting there and saying to me, but don't I have to actually look at the history and really understand where that came from and all of that stuff? Now, I'm going to challenge you on this one, because I think it's really important to remember that to actually address some of those things in the past, what we're doing is we're trying to satisfy the ego to become the detective, to understand exactly where that problem came from. But just understanding that problem doesn't actually shift it. And this is why I'm a huge believer that we can actually shift emotions that come up in the moment without having to be a detective to truly understand what happened in the past. Now, occasionally, I know it can totally be satisfying to understand, okay, well, I developed this belief when I was younger because my father didn't give me the love that I wanted and all of that sort of stuff. Like, that's very, very normal and very understandable. And I'm not saying that you don't go down that path, because for you, it might just be quite satisfying to understand where that's coming from, and on some level, a little bit therapeutic. But in my experience, what I've seen is that even when people discover those things, what actually happens is they get stuck in that past, but they're not actually aware of how to actually heal those wounds. They're aware of it, they understand where it came from, but they're still experiencing the pain. And you might find that just what I'm saying might be resonating with you around that, because I know when I speak to so many women, and even in my own self, I may have understood those things in the past, but it didn't actually create any proper shifts. So then that's why, to start with, as a basic tool, just give yourself that experience of being with your emotions. So that's just the first thing that you can start to do. Now, the second most important strategy that you can start to apply is that of acceptance. Now, whenever we have any challenges emotionally, or we feel like we're not enough, what's often happening is that we also resist what is often coming up internally within ourselves. Now, even if we believe that we're actually not good enough, just the process of thinking about it and analyzing it and questioning it, what we're actually doing is we're actually stepping into a place of resistance. But if you can actually just get to a place of acceptance. Now, this might sound really, really strange, because what I'm effectively telling you to do is to get to a place where you actually internally accept that you're holding on to that belief that you're not enough. Now, the great thing about this is when we get to a place of acceptance that we're not enough, then what we can do is we can then transition into working on the emotional side of things, where we learn to experience those emotions in the most profound and most authentic and genuine way that we can. And then through that process, we start to release that pain. And the great thing is once we start to release it, we get back and we connect back with who we really are. And who we really are is enough as we are. We don't need to be a certain way for anyone. We can just be our beautiful, authentic self. And when you can actually be your authentic self, then what happens is life then becomes a reflection of how we feel on the inside. And that ends up being a beautiful experience of love and joy and happiness and passion and excitement and fun and success and all of that good stuff. So whilst there might be a part of you going, how is that actually helping me? It actually does help you because it means that you stop going down the path of resistance. It's about acceptance. And so when we accept that we're not enough, then what happens is we can actually take the actions that we need to in order to create those shifts, rather than constantly making it out like we're not enough, we're not enough, we're not enough. And then that just creates more and more pain. And then we end up having these experiences that create more pain. And then it just cycles over and over and over, and you're not able to get anywhere with it. So in summary, what you want to be doing is, firstly, feel your emotions, be present with them, be patient with them, and just experience them as they are. And then secondly, what you want to do is get to a place of acceptance of some of the beliefs that you're holding on to inside. Now, just trust me on this one, because when you accept, then you're able to take the actions that you need to in order to move forward and to progress on this journey that you're on. I promise you, even for me, I had to accept that I was holding on to this belief that I wasn't enough. I had to make peace with it. And once I made peace with it, I was actually able to rise above it and release some of those old beliefs that I was holding on to that prevented me from creating the life that I really wanted. And the beauty of it is that once I started to do that, all the relationships in my life started to change. Not only with my wife, but also with other areas of my life as well. Professionally, friendship-wise, it really does shift when you start to shift from within. Now, I know some of you might be sitting there and finding it really overwhelming, some of these things, and finding it just, even the idea of facing up to some of these challenges is really, really difficult and really challenging and really scary. And my heart goes out to you. And this is the reason why I do what I do, because I want to help you to be able to create the shifts that you want to in your life. I promise you that when you actually take action, magical things can really happen. And that's why I've got my Authentic Relationship System training program, which is an incredible program geared towards helping you to be able to not only save your marriage, but really to create those deeper shifts from within. I promise you that really the changes that you will make are going to stand the test of time, because they're really getting to the depths of it. But the only thing is that you've just got to be in a position where you're ready to actually create those shifts. So if it's something that does feel right for you and you want to learn a little bit more about it, then all you need to do is just in the description section below, just click on that link where it says book a call with me. Just choose a time that works for you and just fill out the short application form. And then I'll contact you at the scheduled time, just to, like I said, understand where you are now, where you want to get to, and how we can bridge that gap. I don't work with every single person. You know, you have to make sure you fit the right criteria. But, you know, if you do feel like you're at a place where you're needing some guidance and some help, and, you know, you resonate with some of my material, then I'd strongly recommend that you do that and do it now before life gets in the way and gets too busy. Thank you so much for watching this video. You've been amazing. If you've liked it, make sure you hit the like button below. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button and click on that bell notification as well, so you get notified when I upload my latest videos. And make sure you just let me know what your biggest takeaway was in the comment section below as well. I always love hearing the messages, and I'll make sure I respond to every single one of you as well. And if you want to learn how to save a marriage after separation, just click this video above. And if you want to learn the 3 myths to avoid at all costs when it comes to saving your marriage, just click this video above. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you in the very next video.